Morning, Claire. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us for the 10 minutes of Foodtech. I'm going to kick off. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to kick off with just a very quick question about the pandemic. I guess we cannot avoid that these days. And I know that, has allowed companies, the alternative protein space to actually increase their sales and even raise investments despite the challenges of doing due diligence because of travel restrictions. So how do you envision this space to grow in the post-COVID world?
Yes, I think COVID has provided a spur for a number of reasons. Firstly, people understand subliminally, even if they don't say it outright, that COVID stemmed from the use of animals. And so subconsciously, I think people are choosing to move away from animal products for those reasons, because they see intensive factory farming as being a risk factor. Secondly, our only protection against COVID at the moment is our own immune systems. And everybody knows that plant-rich food is healthier. And so there's a natural desire amongst people to improve their health during this period, so that if they do get COVID, they can fight it off more quickly. And so that, I think, is also providing a good backdrop. Thirdly, COVID means we're spending a lot of time at home and avoiding going out to the stores. And that's actually been a benefit to some of the plant-based food companies, since they're more available on online platforms than in the supermarkets. And so people are surfing around on the internet, trying to find these products, finding them sometimes either direct to D2C from the company's websites themselves, or on big vegan supermarket stores. And so that's making it easier for them to get these products. Will that change post the COVID? No, because I think people are interested in these products and they will continue to search for them, and obviously want to keep up a healthy lifestyle.
Thanks, Claire. And I forgot to mention that, you've been backing a few of these businesses. Full disclosure, you've been an activist, investor, actually, an early investor in some of the plant-based and vegan companies. So. Yes. Just for whoever is listening, to kind of level up, the knowledge here. And this brings us to the second question, which, as we've seen recently, on the media, the EU Parliament recently saved, the veggie burger denomination ban. And I remember seeing this whole shebang about, this kind of like denomination being confusing. And so I was just wondering, what do you think, this actually would mean for the companies operating in this space? But also from a regulation perspective, is there any measure that you think governments should take to promote a more plant-based centric diet and actually help the alternative protein space to grow even faster than it's actually doing?
Yes, I found the suggestion that consumers were confused about these products slightly insulting. I think we can all pick up a packet and look on the back and see the ingredients list, and often it says very helpfully on the front that it's plant-based or it has the vegan trademark. So I don't think that consumers were buying these products thinking that they were getting meat and was like shock horror. It's a vegetable product. No, that was not happening. In terms of what governments can do, they can do a lot. Firstly, they can level the playing field. At the moment, the plant-based movement gets almost nothing in the way of resources from governments, whereas the industries of animal agriculture are heavily subsidized. I believe Greenpeace worked out that it was about 25% of the entire EU budget was going towards animal agriculture. And that is absolutely shocking. Can you imagine how much further advanced we'd be if even some of that was going towards the plant-based movement? A second thing is dietary guidelines. And we have seen some countries, particularly Canada, shift away from, for example, dairy. And I would like to see more governments adopt different guidelines that deprioritize the use of animal products. The third thing, obviously, is something like a meat tax. Which I think would be justifiable on the same grounds that taxes are imposed upon tobacco, because it's a carcinogen and it's bad for health. And we have obviously got the proof that meat has also bad impacts on health, and so taxes are justifiable in my view.
Interesting. And just to kind of building up on this question, in which, I guess, chronological order do you think these measures could actually be introduced to help also, this space to grow? As in, I see the meat tax as something that, I guess, as more people, adopt the plant-based diet, it can be justifiable. But maybe, as you said, shifting from subsidizing quite heavily, the meat industry to send, kind of channeling some of this money towards, more
Yes.
plant-based companies might be a good start.
Yes, I see there is a kind of EU Green New Deal package that a fund which has been set up. I can't remember the amount, but it is quite huge, and that's linked to the climate primarily. But I think the plant-based movement can kind of not sneak in. It has a justifiable right to be in, because the plant-based agriculture can potentially can capture carbon, can sequester carbon, whereas obviously the animal agriculture is generally an emitter of carbon, primarily through methane. So there are opportunities there for plant-based businesses to start to get funding from the EU. And hopefully that might cause a trend where more funding is directed towards this and funding is taken away from the meat industry. So I would say addressing subsidies is the first port of call for government.
Fantastic. Thanks, Claire. I can see that, down the line, this can become like almost like a complementary, sort of like relationship, right? Where
Yes.
it kind of balances out a little bit better, I guess.
Exactly. Nothing changes overnight, but we can see the money drifting in that direction. And we can provide lots of reasons, health, and particularly the environment, for it to do so.
For sure. Fantastic. This leads me to the very last question, which it kind of goes a little bit away from the plant-based space, but it's actually all about cellular agriculture. So
Sure.
on the second episode of this series, we hosted Max Rye from Turtles Free Labs, which is a company producing cell-based milk.
Mm-hmm.
And he stated that cellular agriculture products will benefit actually from the hype, quote unquote, generated by plant-based companies because of the fact that it kind of created also a category. Do you agree with him? And if not, what's your take on cellular agriculture, and how do you see it evolving in the future?
I think he has a point, because I think that the plant-based movement has been the kind of vanguard of people choosing to eat differently and being open to new products and trying new products, and generally being positively impressed by them, and feeling benefits potentially for their health as a result. But I also think that the plant-based movement is going to be the way in which cellular agriculture probably comes to market. And I'm very excited to see, yesterday I saw the news report that one of my portfolio companies, Super Meat, who I invested in January 2018, has actually created a CellAg restaurant in Israel. And they are combining their chicken cells, which they have created in their pilot plant, with plant-based burgers to create a much more realistic chicken alternative. And so I believe that my perception, and from what I discuss with the companies that I have in my portfolio, my perception is that the plant-based movement is going to be the way that cellular meat comes into the market first. It's not going to be from zero to a fully formed steak. It's going to come in more as an ingredient. And so that will definitely ease the adoption, because it will be added in smaller quantities, and people won't, I think, have any kind of distaste for it. They will just realize that it's an ingredient which is making the plant-based food more realistic, and more of the kind of attributes of the animal product, which they will enjoy. So I would say that he has a point, and that's how I perceive CellAg will be coming to market, and we'll find it an easier route to market than attempting to create whole pieces of meat.
Fantastic, Claire. And on that note, let me just ask you a very last question, which is, I guess, it kind of encompasses all that we've been discussing in these last 8 minutes. Mm-hmm. What do you think about actually the collaborations that some of these plant-based and cell-based companies are actually forming? As in, creating maybe a steak that at the core is actually plant-based, but then thanks to the culturing of the cells, it can actually build, the muscles around it. Do you think that this is kind of the next frontier of personalized also steaks, or plant-based / cell-based steaks?
I think that what's the plant-based products and algae-based products and mushroom products and CellAg and the acellular movements, all of these technologies have the potential to work together. I've introduced companies that are doing precision fermentation to other companies in my portfolio that are creating plant-based foods, because the precision fermentation is creating pure proteins. Maybe the plant-based foods need to be a little bit reinforced with those proteins. Things like algae, because of the oils I've introduced to a plant milk company in order to create kind of drinks for toddlers that have got the EPA, which is so essential for the brain development. So yes, there's ample opportunities for these companies to come together and collaborate on product development. And I think that we can basically enjoy all of these all of these forces of nature and of technology coming together to create better food. And I think that this is really where this movement away from animal agriculture is going to be so much appreciated by the consumer, because it can always be improving. Whereas I think in terms of what you can do with an actual animal itself, we have really reached the end point, I think, with the degree to which the animals themselves have been kind of adulterated and overbred, etc., to create cuts of meat, where on their thighs or their calves where they shouldn't have them, kind of thing. And so I think it's really got to the end point there. And the only way that food can improve is through this appreciation of plants, of other types of ingredients like algae, mushrooms, and technology.
And all this kind of contamination as well, I guess, which I don't know, it's a good word in COVID, but
yes,
COVID days,
this is it. Yeah, this is it.
Really.
It's all of the dangers of animal agriculture really being brought to the fore, and only more so. We've seen the recent news from Denmark about the mink farms, and I think people are beginning to realize that keeping these animals in close confinement, large numbers of animals, just creates more and more reservoirs for new strains of COVID to develop. Yeah. And that's at the back of consumers' minds at the moment. We need to bring it more to the forefront for them to take more action. But it's certainly something that they're considering, I think, as time goes on and they hear more reports of this type.
For sure. And I also, I guess, as they see that companies are experimenting, and the contamination element, I guess, is about, experimenting with cell-based and plant-based, things so that you can develop actually new products. They see that there are alternatives now in the market that can probably, kind of fit their needs. Yeah. Actually, maybe better than...
Exactly. It's taste, cost, convenience.
Yeah.
And then there's all these other benefits in terms of health and sustainability behind it. If we can get the taste, cost, and convenience, then all the other aspects are stacking up in favor of these plant-based products. But with the increasing economies of scale and new developments, new product development, I think that we will get there.
Fantastic, Claire. On this note, is a great way to close up this series. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time. And we'll catch up really soon.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for watching our video podcast, 10 Minutes of Food Tech with. I would like to give a special thanks to Forward Fully that's partnered with the TheFoodCons in this Amazon project. I would like to remind you that Foodtech 500 Quest is on. Apply now to forwardfooding.com/Foodtech500. Thank you.